Hello and welcome to the Moncast,
a weekly podcast where we watch Pokemon and Digimon in tandem and discuss the similarities and differences that they share.
My name's Sam.
And I'm Stevie.
And this week we're watching episode 1, And So It Begins, and Pokemon I Choose You. So if we start with a brief introduction to ourselves.
I'm Stevie. I'm 19. First series of Digimon I watched was Adventure, but I've seen pretty much all of them now up to Fusion. For Pokemon, I've seen the odd film and the first few episodes from the first series. So obviously, just for familiarity's sake, I prefer the Digimon anime. For the games, I've played quite a lot from both of them. I've played Digimon World 3, Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth that came out really recently. I've put a good 80 hours into that. And I've played a few of the spin-offs like Rumble Arena 2 and All-Star Rumble. And Pokemon games, I've played Pokemon Pearl, and I think it was White, or White version 2. I can never remember because I had the Black Legendary on the White game and it was weird. And then I played Pokemon Y on the 3DS, and I've started Pokemon Yellow on the Virtual Console. I've played a few of the spin-off titles as well. Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Darkness, and I played a shameful amount of Pokemon Shuffle. It was a good 200 and something hours before I finally gave it up because I just stopped playing. I'm just I've missed events now.
See, I've not played Pokemon Shuffle. I think it was because I had Puzzle and Dragons when that came out, so I already had my little shuffle game to keep me satisfied.
Ah, well.
It was Puzzle and Dragons Z, and it came with Mario as well. So I had all the I played the Mario version of it. It was quite nice.
Such a rip-off title, though. It was £40 for what was essentially a mobile game.
Don't remind me.
At least I didn't spend money on Pokemon Shuffle. I just spent a lot of time that I could have spent doing other things on Pokemon Shuffle.
But Puzzle and Dragons didn't have the weird health meter that went down, so you didn't have a certain amount of moves you can do in a day, and didn't have premium currency and stuff.
Yeah, I did spend money on Pokemon P-Cross, or Picross, how do you pronounce it?
Picross? What the hell's Picross?
It's it's a puzzle game, sort of I don't know.
Oh, Picross.
Picross. I don't know how it's pronounced because it's supposed to be Japanese.
I don't think it's called Picross, though. I just thought you said Pie Crust, and I was like, there's a baking game for Pokemon.
I wish. That'd be amazing. Cooking with Pikachu.
Well, we've got Detective Pikachu soon, haven't we?
Can we just have a series of games where you just do different things with Pikachu?
That sounds wrong. I didn't insinuate anything. I just said that sounds kind of bad.
I just want Pikachu games. I like
Cooking
Pikachu.
Mama, but with Pikachu.
Exactly, cooking Pikachu. Yeah.
So it sounds bad.
It just sounds like I want to cook Pikachu.
Well, they have to eat something in the Pokemon world. Do you think they eat Pokemon?
Maybe. Who knows? Maybe they'll let us know when we're watching. But yeah, Pokemon games are better than Digimon games in general. Digimon's been sort of iffy. It's never been consistently good or nailed a formula like Pokemon has. And outside of video games, though, there was the trading card game, which I've played as well.
Okay, well, I'm Sam. I'm 26, so I'm fairly old in life. I've watched every episode of every season of Digimon, and then I've watched maybe 4 seasons of Pokemon. Nowadays, I tend to sort of watch an episode if it has a Pokemon I like in it. Game-wise, I started on Pokemon Red, and then I've played every single one of the main games up to I've played all the main games. I haven't played many of the spin-off games. I played Mystery Dungeon, and then I've played Art Academy because I like my art. Digimon wise, I started on Digimon World 1, and then I've played all of the DS games, and then Heroes when that came out on my phone, and then I'm currently playing Links, even though that's not out. I have some of the Pokemon cards from when I was younger somewhere, but I never actually played the game very well. I just collected the cards because that's what you did when you were 10. You collected all the cards.
I've played the game with my cousin quite a lot because we used to go around on Saturdays and that would be what we always did. And it got quite competitive to the point where we were still playing when we were 17. So we didn't grow up very quickly. The first episode we watched this week was Pokemon I Choose You.
Ash, a 10-year-old boy from Pallet Town, dreams of becoming a Pokemon master. He oversleeps and ends up running late to receive his first Pokemon from Professor Oak. Unfortunately, Oak has only one Pokemon left. a troublesome Pikachu. The two set off on their big adventure with Pikachu loafing off and ignoring Ash's commands. Eventually, Ash manages to anger a flock of Spearow and they attack him and Pikachu, causing him to flee. When they can't outrun them, Ash stands in between the Spearow and Pikachu, defending him from harm. Seeing this, Pikachu unleashes an almighty thunderbolt, defeating the Spearow but hurting himself in the process. As the sun starts to shine, Ash carries Pikachu off towards the nearest town to get help.
I wanna be the very best.
And Diggerino begins the battle with a horn attack.
Oh, hi, Pikachu. Pika.
It also comes out into open fields to steal food from stupid travelers.
That means I'm stupid? Spearows, do you know who I am? I'm Ash from the town of Pallet. I'm destined to be the world's #1 Pokemon master.
Okay, so what did you like about this episode?
First and foremost, I loved Pikachu. He was just incredible. He was entertaining. He was funny. His attitude was amazing. And it was just interesting to see how he managed to give back chat to Ash, even though he couldn't talk. He was very animalistic, but he still managed to get his point across and take the mick out of Ash as well.
I always like Pikachu. He's a lot chubbier in the first season than he is in the newer season. If you look at him in the newer season, he's lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, he's so much cuter.
What, in the first season?
Yeah, right now in his chubby form.
Yeah, he's really adorable.
He's more chibi. He's just cute. Name something you liked about the episode.
I liked the world building because it's set in a world that's similar to ours, but it's different enough for it to be a fantasy world. And I like how they introduce things like the basic concepts of Pokemon, such as trainer battles from the very start, typing, because obviously Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, they mentioned the types and everything, catching Pokemon, wild Pokemon, all this is mentioned in the first episode. When I watched it, though, I thought it was a bit silly because it was all like, oh, why are you explaining these simple basic things? Of course we're going to understand what they're talking about. But then thinking about it, I was 10 when I watched it first, so it would have been a lot harder for me to understand these concepts when I was 10. Also, it's probably going to be the first time people have seen Pokemon, and it'll be the first time anybody knows about Pokemon, especially it being episode 1 of season 1. So they're going to explain all these things to you.
Yeah, I agree that the world building was good. What I liked about it wasn't the fact that it introduced like battle mechanics, things like that. I like more the fact that it showed us a bit of the environment and the natural surroundings that they have. Like, we got to see a bit of the town, we got some fields, we got the forest, and all those places had wild Pokemon or people there as well. So we really got a good sense that this world was alive and filled with people and Pokemon.
Even things like them just having a crowd when Ash comes out of Professor Oak's lab, it gave you that sense of there are people in this town and they are doing things in this town. Like, they all came out to see Ash and also Gary to go and watch them on their leaving day.
Okay, so I agree with you about the world building. It was nice. It was well done. It wasn't too in your face as well. Like, they didn't just straight out come out and say it. They sort of did it through TV programs or through sort of conversations with people. It wasn't just like someone came up to Ash and recited a rule book to him. Just like, here's how you Pokemon.
And he learned things as well. Obviously, like, there's the bit where he traps Pidgey under his pajamas and it uses its gust attack. You know, that's the first time he ever sees a Pokemon doing an attack, and it's on him, and it really brings home that they are these creatures that do these things. They're not just, it's not just a bird, it's a bird Pokemon, so it has these attacks and abilities.
That brings up the other thing that I liked about this episode, which was the Pokédex. It was really funny when it just chimed in with like a sort of a jab at Ash, but also told you something new, so you actually learnt from it.
Okay, well, I've actually got a negative, like, that's one of the things I don't like about this episode. It's one of the things I don't like. It's the whole, well, I'll talk about it after. I'll talk about it in things we don't like.
Well, I've run out of things I like now. In my notes, anyway.
I've got 2 more things I like, and one of them, this is probably my favourite bit about the entire episode. It's the start, and it's the reference to the Game Boy games, because in the Game Boy games, you turn it on and you start up, and it starts off with a Gengar fighting a Nidorino. And to watch that be animated, and then to see the jump, because in the opening in the game, when Nidorino jumps, it sort of fades to blank and then comes up with the opening, like the title screen. But obviously in the show, when he jumped, it full on sort of expanded into the middle of a trainer battle. I thought that was really nice, and it definitely got into my nostalgia factor for me.
Yeah, I don't have the same nostalgia for that because I've only played Pokemon Yellow out of the Game Boy games, and that doesn't have the same introduction.
No, that's a lot happier. It's got like happier music and it's got Pikachu running at you. It's still a nice opening. It's really adorable.
Yeah, I can see why you'd have nostalgia for that bit though.
I also like the little sneak peek of Misty we get as well. I like Misty a lot. She's brilliant.
Right from the off, we get a good first impression of what she's going to be like in the way that she treats Ash.
Because like in the Japanese version, she actually slaps him, but they cut it out in the version that we watched. So you can see how sort of stern she is, but then in a beat, she's also really caring about Pikachu because she can see him hurt. Well, I assume Pikachu's a he because when I was younger, I always assumed Pikachu was a he, so I'm always going to call Pikachu he instead of it because it sounds a bit degrading for me.
Yeah.
People have seen Pikachu as female, then I'm sorry, but Pikachu for me is a male. Also the tail thing, which was introduced later on, but they didn't know at the time, so it's Pikachu's a he. But obviously, Misty sees Pikachu hurt and straight away tells Ash, get him to a Pokemon Center. There's one nearby. Go and heal him up.
Yeah, she was quick to act as well. She has her priorities right.
And then Ash steals her bike.
Yeah. She seemed a bit angry about that.
Only a little bit. Okay, so what was something that you didn't like about this episode?
Well, 2 of my dislikes are based around Ash. So, first of all, he seems pretty clueless and stupid. For someone that's been excited about Pokemon for a long time, it seems. Like, they even have these TV shows, and he has the local professor he can go to ask these questions, but apparently he knows pretty much nothing about what he's supposed to do now he's off on his journey. Why is he so clueless? It doesn't make sense.
I do think for a character, it doesn't make sense why he would know absolutely nothing about the world of Pokemon and the Pokemon that exist therein. But as a character who's taking us on a journey through the Pokemon world with him, obviously we don't know anything about the Pokemon world anyway. So for him to be that clueless explains a way for us to ask the same questions so he can say, oh, who's that Pokemon? Whilst at the same time we're saying, who's that Pokemon?
Yeah, it's justifiable, but it's still logically stupid.
But this also links into one thing I don't like, which is why everyone seems to pick on Ash or just be a general dick towards him, because I get that he is supposed to be a bit of an idiot towards these things because he's new on this adventure. But so many times in the show, in this one episode, people seem to sort of be mean or rude to him for no reason. Gary, I can understand because it's his rival. So Gary's going to be sassy. Pikachu, I can understand because he's just met Pikachu and Pikachu has no respect for him whatsoever. Professor Oak, I can't quite understand. So he's got the Pokeballs that are empty in the machine when Ash is picking a Pokemon. He knows they're all empty. So instead of saying to Ash, okay, all my Pokemon have been taken because you were late, but I have got this one Pokemon you can use if you want. It's a bit quirky, but you might be able to work with it. Instead, he just sort of stands there and lets Ash pick these Pokemon, knowing that the Pokeballs are empty, and I feel that's a bit mean. And then the Pokedex, I get it's an informative tool, but at the same time, it doesn't need to be sassy. Did Professor Oak program sass into the Pokedex? I mean, cut Ash some slack. He's just started out on his adventure. He doesn't need a small red rectangle making him feel bad.
I liked the Pokedex being slightly sarcastic, even if it didn't make sense.
It reminds me a little bit of GLaDOS from Portal, a little bit.
Yeah, I guess the whole text-to-voice style of it is pretty similar. If it keeps being sassy throughout the series, that'll probably keep me entertained, because I find it funny. But yeah, the Pokédex, I find is sort of flawed, because it's like, how do they already know that there's 151 Pokemon exactly?
There's 150 or more.
150 or more. Then, if they already know that, then surely they've already encountered all these Pokemon and got all this information already. Is there not a copy and paste function in the Pokemon universe? Can they not just take these things and put them together into one completed Pokédex already?
You might be confusing it with the game, because in the game, you go out and you find the information of all the Pokemon. In the show, the Pokédex is more of a reference guide, so you can point it at the Pokemon and go, ooh, what's that? And it says, oh, this is this Pokemon, this is what it does, this is its habitat, this is what it's weak to. So instead of it being that you go and you complete this Pokédex, Ash has the completed Pokédex.
I didn't get that impression. It didn't make that clear to me in this first episode.
Oh, okay.
I can see why I've made that mistake then, because Ash saying that he wants to go out and catch all the Pokemon sort of automatically made me think, oh, he wants to complete the Pokédex by catching all the Pokemon. But I guess that's not the case.
It makes sense for the games, because obviously it gives you that purpose, aside from collecting all the badges and defeating the Elite Four. It gives you that catch them all mentality where you're going to fill this Pokédex, and it gives you that reason to catch them all so that you can have a completed Pokédex.
Well then, what's Ash's reason?
He's going to go out and be a Pokemon master. whatever that means, and it's all very vague about what a master is.
Yeah, that's one of the other things I didn't like was Ash's delusions of grandeur. He's already claiming to be destined to be a Pokemon master.
He's just dreaming big.
Who decided this? You don't just decide, I am destined to be the best. You either are going to be the best or you're not. You don't just decide, oh, that's going to be me.
He can decide if he wants to be the best. He's 10 years old. He's got big dreams.
The chosen one can't be the one that chose themselves. It doesn't make sense.
Look at you poo-pooing 10-year-old's dreams. I'm sorry. Did you know you wanted to do at 10?
No, I don't know what I want to do now.
Do you want to know a secret?
What?
Even I don't know what I want to do now. I'm 26. I have no idea what I'm doing. What about your overall thoughts?
Overall, it was a very good episode. It was enjoyable to watch, even if it had a few logic holes. I can't think of the right word. But it was fun to watch. It was entertaining.
I think it was a good starting episode. It set up the world a little bit, gave us the main character, like sort of set up his quest and his mission and his goal. Showed us a few basic mechanics of the world. These are Pokemon, they have moves, etc. And then it ended the episode with like a clear goal for him. Now he's got to go and heal Pikachu.
It's a good introduction to the series.
Yes.
They got the first episode right. They kept us entertained while still managing to teach us the new things in ways that were entertaining and not boring.
Speaking of which...
Wait, first of all, favourite thing from this episode?
It's the Game Boy introduction, like I said. It's the nostalgia factor. It's watching that little pixelated screen of a Gengar versus a Nidorino.
Oh, well, I liked the bit before that. I liked the theme song.
Oh, okay. The version like I watched didn't have the theme song, but I know the theme song off by heart.
Yeah, I particularly Googled it so I could watch it again, because I know it's incredibly cheesy and pretty bad.
It's not that bad. I enjoy it. I do enjoy it.
By musical standards, it's not anything special.
It's the 90s.
But yeah, the theme song has a special place in my heart.
Aww.
I don't know why, I've only seen like 5 episodes of the series, but it's just a really good theme song.
I think it might be because of what it stands for. It stands for the entire franchise of Pokemon and everything that entails and encompasses.
I'm pretty certain most people that play Pokemon don't strive to be the best.
I do.
Oh yeah, have you ever been to like national championships or anything?
I'm not going to dignify that with a yes.
No, I'll stop now. I could sing the whole thing, and you could all suffer through it, but I'm going to spare you this one time.
Give it a couple episodes so we get a few people listening, and then we can sing the theme song and then lose them all in one fell swoop.
That sounds like a good plan.
Pikachu!
The second episode we're watching today is And So It Begins.
Ty, Matt, Sora, Izzy, Mimi, TK and Joe are hit by a meteor strike and a tidal wave, and then they wake up on an island with these strange talking creatures that call themselves Digimon. And they're called Koromon, Sunamon, Yokomon, Motimon, Tanamon, Tokamon and Bukamon. Except there's a giant red beetle Digimon called Kawagamon that's angry at them for being on his lawn. So it chases them to a cliff where the friendly Digimon get bigger. So they become Agumon, Gabumon, Biomon, Tentomon, Palmon, Patamon and Gomamon. And they attack Kawagamon. And they lose! Then we're left with a cliffhanger as the cliff crumbles around them and they start falling.
Koromon, Digivolve to Agumon! Yokomon, Digivolve to Biomon! Motimon, Digivolve to Tentomon! Sunomon, Digivolve to Gabumon! Tokomon, Digivolve to Patamon! Pokemon, Digivolve to Gomamon! Tanamon, Digivolve to Patamon!
Okay, let's get to the really short bit. What did you like?
Actually, I have some nice things about this.
Well done.
I should start off by saying I do like Digimon and I do enjoy Digimon, but this episode's really bad.
Really bad.
So there's a lot of bad things, but I don't want anyone to think that I don't like it. I do like the show.
We both like Digimon. We just really dislike this episode.
Okay, so one thing I do like is the size of the cast. Obviously, it's a lot bigger than in Pokemon. There are 7 kids and there are 7 blob monsters. But then the 7 blob monsters become 7 more blob monsters, and there's also a Kawagamon in there. So there's a lot of variety, and it's easier for someone to pick a favourite. With Pokemon, obviously, you've got Ash and Pikachu, so you kind of have to like them. With this, there are completely different types of people So, maybe you do like the hot-headed guy, or you do like the girl who enjoys pink. You do get that chance to sort of pick your favourite, which everybody does. Everybody has their favourite.
Yeah, like in this first episode, you're going to find someone that you like, because there's a lot of characters in it already.
A lot.
If you didn't like Ash, then you're probably not going to like Pokemon. But at least with this, the chances of not liking everyone is very low.
What's one thing that you like about the show then, Stevie?
Well, you took one of my one things,
Okay.
in that we do get a good first impression of the kids. The other thing I did like was the designs of the Digimon that we saw, especially the in-training Digimon. Were all really cute. Well, it could be seen as is it ugly cute that it's called? Or cute ugly?
Hughley. It's called Hughley.
Hughley.
Yeah.
I hope you're not lying to me.
I'm not lying. It's called Hughley.
Yeah, pretty much all of them could probably kill you in one way or another, but they're still really cute, even if not too varied, but they are adorable.
Tokomon could definitely kill you, and Sunomon just needs to run at you a bit quick, and he'll kill you.
Koromon could probably strangle you with its ears.
Okay, we're not doing this. We're not going through each and every Digimon and then finding how they can murder you.
Yokomon could be a poisonous flower. We don't know. Bukamon's a seal, so it's probably got sharp teeth. We've already got Tokomon with sharp teeth. That only really leaves Tanamon, who's a plant, so it's probably harmless.
And also Motimon.
Oh, and Motimon has those little claws, but I don't know if those would be sharp enough to kill anyone. So Motimon and Tanamon are the safest out of the bunch.
Okay, so you've just listed how the Digimon are going to kill people. Thanks for that.
Yeah, this is why the kids should be afraid. This is when they are in the weakest level that we're probably going to see them at most of the time, and already they could kill people. At the end of the day, they are supposed to be monsters.
I also like the fact that it's set in a fantasy world. It's set in the digital world, or as they call it, Digi World, and it's governed by a completely different set of laws than the real world. So there's a hollow mechanical tree they can phase into. There are sentient blob creatures that can talk, and they instantly turn into bigger creatures that are designed to fight. And it hasn't got a set of laws that it strictly follows, so it gives that world so much potential for weirdness and crazy things to happen, which I think sounds quite good.
I like weird. Weird is always more fun.
Even in future episodes, we see some of that weird infusion of technology and everything like that. They have weird cards that open portals. They've got phone booths and trolley cars and fridges and stuff that are just sort of in this world for no reason. Even in the games, they had a meat farm. The digital world has this weird quality to it that doesn't quite follow any logic that we have in the real world.
Yeah, I mean, just in the way that they are transported to the digital world, like Digivices, fall from this weird black hole in the sky, land around them, and then a tsunami comes over them and they all fall in. That's hardly normal.
It's certainly a bizarre way to go into the world. They could have maybe phased into Izzy's laptop. They could have, like they did in the beginning of Tron, they could have maybe sort of pixelated and gone into the Digivices or something. They had all these different ways, but instead it was a space phenomenon followed by a sideways waterfall.
Yeah, it was not a conventional means of travel.
Is there anything else you enjoyed about this episode?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wait, Patamon. Just because Patamon's my favourite Digimon.
Okay. Are you really grasping at straws to find something you like about this episode?
Yes.
It is a difficult one because there's this...
It's going to be very easy to tear it to shreds.
Okay, well, I'm going to start because this sort of links into it. There's not a lot of substance to the episode. It feels quite thin. If you take away all the introduction time that they have, basically, you see some kids, they fall into a waterfall, meet some monsters, and they fall off a cliff. That's basically all that happens in this episode.
Yep. My synopsis would be half the length if I hadn't listed the name of every single character or Digimon that was in it. But I thought it was necessary to sort of immediately put across the point that this episode is full of lots and lots and lots of introductions.
Well, they introduce the kids at the start, or Tidus, and then the Digimon get introduced, and then they get introduced to the kids, and then the Digimon evolve, and then do we get an introduction for the rookies? I can't remember.
Well, yeah, because we get 7 Digivolutions.
Oh yeah, I suppose we get that. That's another problem that I have with this episode, is the amount of stock footage they use. At the start, obviously the kids are introduced, and as they are introduced, you'll have a little snapshot of them doing something, and then they show it again with their name underneath, which just sort of pads out the episode. There's a lot of padding in this episode.
A lot.
If you take out the padding, there's not a lot left to talk about, which is why it's so hard to find something I like about this episode when there's not a lot to it.
This episode is the same 5 minutes 4 times over because they have such a massive cast of characters and each of the characters has a partner. Trying to learn all these new names after this episode isn't going to be possible unless you watch it twice.
And it's not like it needs to be hammered into you. Because if you look at Pokemon, we got introduced to Pikachu, Pidgey, Gengar, Onix, Reno, Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Spearow. 9 of them that you get introduced to, and at no point do they introduce them more than once. You sort of get told about it, maybe they get mentioned more than one time, but then it's not like they've had to sort of stop and introduce that Pokemon and then have a moment talking about that Pokemon.
Yeah, like, although we'd probably see a similar amount of Pokemon as we do Digimon, we don't get the names of each of them twice.
And there are some that we don't get names, like there's Dodrio, the little nightmare bird. Gyarados and Magikarp, you don't see them. Well, you see them, but they're not explained.
Sandshrew and Mankey.
And then there's literally at the end of the episode, there's a Pokemon that the Pokedex says there are some Pokemon we still haven't discovered yet.
Yeah, the legendary bird flies over, which is just brown because they didn't colour it in.
Okay, is there anything else you don't like about this episode? Because I know you've got a lot more than me, because I've got stock footage is pretty much my issue. Because I'm not going to pretend like we don't know what happens in later episodes. There's a lot of stock footage. Like when they Digivolve, that's used in pretty much every episode from now until halfway through the season. There's always a Digivolution. It's always the same. Even though the Digimon and the name that flies around changes, it's still that same little snapshot of them spinning around in darkness and then changing to the next form.
Yeah, and that's not entertaining. I mean, I guess if you were 10 still, you might get a bit excited, like, oh, it's Digivolving! But we're not 10, so we're just like, oh, it's Digivolving. Yeah, also, whereas you said you quite liked the world building in Digimon, I didn't feel it was that good. Or at least the world didn't seem as alive as it did in Pokemon.
No, definitely.
Like, we get the kids, we get the partners, and then we have one wild Digimon that we see. And that's Kuwagamon, who's basically there to chase them, so they have to run around. And to basically avoid getting any real plot in this first episode. You could probably skip this, actually. This episode is pretty much a filler episode.
One issue I do have with it, and it's sort of a matter of personal opinion, but I don't like how not a lot's explained, like mechanic-wise. I'm quite into the mechanics of both shows, so like type advantages and levels and stuff like that. But I didn't realise how little was explained. Like, they don't say that they're in training form. They don't say that they've gone to rookie form. They don't say Kuwagamon's a champion. They don't explain these sort of things, and I thought they would try. If they're going to sell the toys and they're going to sell the V-Pets and everything, they're going to have to mention that there are these forms and they're different stages.
Well, to be fair, they didn't have a Pokédex like they did in Pokemon to sort of explain this to them. They would
have the Digimon themselves.
Yeah, but maybe the Digimon don't know this. Like, they are essentially baby Digimon.
I see your point.
They won't know these things themselves. Like, do you know what an adult is called when you are a toddler?
Mum.
Exactly. You don't know that the level is adult or teenager or adolescent or whatever you call it. You don't know age ranges of human beings. So I guess Digimon might not know what you call Digimon at different stages yet.
Okay, I can see that. I take that as a good point.
It makes sense that the Digimon don't know what they're doing. In the same way it makes sense that Ash doesn't know what he's doing, so that we have to learn as well.
Do you have a favourite character or anything from this episode?
I still have more gripes with this yet.
Okay, I'm done with mine, because I know you had a lot you want to talk about, so I only wrote 2 down. You've already covered one of them, so I'm just going to let you go on about it.
Okay, well, because this is the dub, and it has to be entertaining for quote-unquote dumb American children, they insert awful jokes all the time. At every opportunity, there will be a bad pun or some joke that just isn't appropriate. Like, I don't know about you, but if I was falling to my death, I wouldn't make a stereotypical joke about myself, like Mimi does when they're falling into the waterfall.
I should have gone to cheerleading camp.
Yeah, I'd be a bit busy screaming. I wouldn't be joking about going to cheerleading camp. It doesn't make sense. Is this what kids do in conversation? Well, to be fair, that was my high school years, just making bad puns. But still,
they're certainly not realistic 10-year-old kids.
No, I think Matt was the worst for making puns when they were running away from Kuwagamon, or just generally complaining, just like, why have we not got a helicopter?
I think out of all the kids, I think Joe's my favourite one, because he reacts in a way that's understandable, especially when he meets Bukamon for the first time, just running away in sheer fear. Everybody else just seems to go, oh, okay, this thing's talking to me. Okay, that's fine. It's not going to eat me in my sleep.
Yeah, in the Pokemon universe, they are familiar with the creatures already, but in this, they've been flung into this new, strange world with these new, strange creatures they know nothing about, and they're just running away from the giant one that's trying to kill them, instead of actually learning anything new. They're just being chased. There isn't a plot in this episode. They just run away from the beetle.
It sounds like a TIE fighter from Star Wars. That's all I can say about that. It sounds like a TIE fighter.
Quagamon's not really that intimidating. I mean, once it's swooped over you the third time that it's gotten close to you, you'd sort of think, it's not really going to kill them, is it? It's had many chances now, and it's just stopped at the last second every time.
Is there anything else you don't like about this episode?
The theme song's not as good.
Okay, I can agree with that. Mostly because it is repeating itself. Theme song matches the episode. It's the same thing repeating itself again and again and again.
That is true. That is a very good comparison to make. Do you know what? You could probably just watch the theme song and get enough information from that. You don't need to watch the rest of the episode, because what they have in the background probably gives you the same information.
Shall we move on now? You seem a bit tired of it.
Do you want to hear my overall thoughts?
I was going to go on to favourite character before overall thoughts.
Oh, my favourite character is Tokamon.
Is it?
It's adorable!
I thought it was going to be Patamon.
No, it's got Tokamon because this is the one time it's there. Every other time it'll be Patamon. We don't get enough of Patamon, but we get the adorableness that is Tokamon. It has the cutest voice.
Okay, well mine's Agumon because it's a dinosaur and I'm a massive fan of dinosaurs. And he's the most dinosaur-like out of all of them, so he wins.
Yeah, my overall thoughts, that I will quote this from my notes. Bad, 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 bad.
Okay, well I've got some slightly more constructive criticism. It's a very thin episode, and by that I mean that very little happens. It's padded out with a lot of introductions and reused footage, and it sort of has a small story that they stretch over this 20-minute period and just throw in a few jokes just to keep it entertaining.
And that's probably why my criticism of it is so thin at the end as well. It's hard to criticise the same 5 minutes. There's not a lot to say about it other than that. It's not very entertaining, very boring. Doesn't do an incredible job of introducing us to everyone.
As an introduction to the series, it's a bit weird because there is so little to go on. You know, you don't really know what's going to happen for the show. It does leave it quite a big cliffhanger. Obviously, they're in this new place and you've got these little creatures, but it doesn't say what their next objective is, apart from maybe not dying. Like with Pokemon, there was a clear start. This is what's going to happen in these episodes. This is where he's going to go and do these things. Let's watch. In this, it's more, they've ended up here. Now what? Like, they haven't even made any decisions. They haven't even said, oh, maybe we should escape, or maybe we should find out where we are and find our way home. None of that's been discussed in this episode.
Now it's time for Mono a Mono, where we talk about the similarities and differences in these episodes.
Let's start with our monster of the week.
What's that coming over the hill? Is it a monster? Is it a monster?
This week it was Pikachu, because Pikachu was the best.
You have to explain why. You can't say because Pikachu is the best.
Pikachu was really funny, really entertaining. I loved his sort of teenager attitude, and the turnaround at the end was nice as well. It was heartwarming.
Okay. Well, my monster of the week is Sparrow, because by itself it's not so bad, but in a large group they're pretty intimidating, and they remind me a little bit of magpie season in Australia, which is when it's mating season in Australia. The male magpies tend to get quite territorial. I'll link to a video on YouTube about it. But they attack cyclists, they attack people going by, and you see people with spikes on their helmets to defend themselves from it. It's kind of awful watching them because they sort of fly past and sort of clip the back of your head. And they just remind me of that when they're attacking Pikachu and Ash. It's my favourite because it's not a Kuwagamon. It's not going to kill them, but it can hurt them pretty badly. And it's a big enough threat for Ash to sort of be out of his depth.
Okay, so you think it did its job well?
It was a good first boss, if not life-threatening, but threatening it enough for it to be a concern.
Which episode do you think had the best storyline?
You can probably guess.
Pokemon.
Yeah.
Because it had a storyline.
Because it had more of a storyline. So little happens in Digimon. There are kids, etc., etc. But with Pokemon, you know, you have a day in his life. You see him wake up late for this thing, runs, gets his Pokemon, goes on his adventure, starts, has trouble, blah, blah.
Yeah, there's much more progression in Ash's journey than there is in the kids' journeys in Digimon. They don't get anywhere in Digimon. They just get in trouble.
Also, a lot less time passes as well. If you look, they start off in the camp, they go outside, they're pulled into this world, they spend maybe 2-3 minutes talking and meeting back up. Then they fight the monster. Maybe an hour passes. Whilst in Pokemon, it's quite a long day, so a lot more happens in the episode.
Yep.
You agree with that?
Yes, I agree. Pokemon had the much better storyline this episode.
Don't want to fight the Digimon?
Do you really think I'm going to try and defend Digimon at this point?
Okay. Were there any similarities between the episodes? And if so, what were they?
They both introduced us to most of the main characters that we're going to see throughout the series. One of them did it better, but they did both try to introduce us to the people and to the worlds.
They're also sort of the same age, and they all seem to enjoy wearing gloves a lot.
That's true. Ash has a hat as well. They like hats.
One of the whole points of this podcast is to find the similarities and the differences that they have, and there are a lot more differences than there are similarities at the moment.
Both of the episodes have kids in and cute, adorable creatures.
That's good enough. Which episode did you enjoy or prefer the most, and why?
Pokemon, of course, because it was just a million times better.
A million times? That's quite a statement.
Okay, maybe not a million times. I may be exaggerating just a tiny bit, but I found the characters more entertaining, the scenery was more vibrant, the world was more alive.
It was more polished.
Yeah, polished is a good word for it. It seemed like a lot more thought went into this first episode of Pokemon.
Definitely.
Also, we didn't have 22 new names to learn in one episode. It wasn't rushed at all. 22 is a big number. Bearing in mind, we get a lot of those names repeated more than once as well. So we probably get introductions 60 times, maybe. I could do the maths. You talk while I try and do some maths.
I preferred Pokemon as well, because there was a lot more. No, we've already discussed it. I've said that it was a more fleshed out episode. It was more. I said the word polish.
That is true. You did say polished. I think it's 50 times.
That's a lot of introductions, especially for a 20-minute episode.
Yeah. We get the 7 kids at the start. Then we get the 7 kids again to the Digimon. We also get the 7 Digimon when they come out one by one. We get Kuwagamon when he comes out. We get the 7 Digimon again when they've all joined together. Then we get the 7 Digimon again as the Digivolving, followed by 7 more Digimon. So that's like 35 or 36 Digimon and 14 kids that we get introduced to. That's how many introductions we get. We get 50 introductions where they just say a name at one point.
Well, aren't you glad we don't have to watch that episode again?
Never again. I used to have nostalgia for this. I'm not going back to watch it again.
Join us again next week, where we'll be watching episode 2.
Pokemon Emergency and the Birth of Greymon.
You can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, Facebook and SoundCloud. Just search for The Moncast.
And you can also email us on Gmail, themoncastpodcast@gmail.com, all one word.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you again next week.
Bye.
Bye. The second episode we're watching today is And So It Begins.
From Digimon.
I don't need to say Digimon because we've discussed Pokemon already. What else is it going to be?
Fine.
Look at the Yokai Watch, is it?